Hey, what's up everybody, and welcome back to News Dose. And I'm just going to go and say it. We have a very busy episode ahead of us because Xbox just revealed 18 new games over at that Xbox Indie Showcase, and most of which I thought was actually really interesting. And that's just the peak of the iceberg because they also revealed separately 14 new Xbox Game Pass games. Yeah, Xbox Game Pass just doesn't slow down at all, and we're going to go over all of that today, plus plenty more, including a new showcase revealed by Nintendo. Yeah, they have their own little thing happening over there as well, so we'll go over all of that plus a lot more today. In fact, let's just go and jump right into it, starting off with a JRPG that I have been monitoring for quite a while, and that is Fantasian. Now, Fantasian is a game that's really interesting for multiple reasons. One being that this is being developed by Hironobu Sakaguchi over at Mistwalker. I mean, this is the father of Final Fantasy himself that we're talking about. He's worked on Final Fantasy 1 through 9. He's worked on Chrono Trigger. He's worked on Lost Odyssey, Blue Dragon, Parasite Eve, Vagrant Story, and the list just goes on and on. He just knows how to make good JRPGs. And with Fantasian being a bit of a throwback to some of his classics, it immediately grabbed my attention. The thing about this game, though, is that it's actually launching in two separate parts. The first part did launch directly into Apple Arcade earlier this year, and now the second part will arrive on August 13th. Yeah, unfortunately for the time being, this is an Apple Arcade exclusive, and I don't usually talk about Apple Arcade games at all on this channel, but this one is being praised by fans and critics alike so far, and if you do like old school JRPGs or the old school Final Fantasy games, you might want to check this game out. I know for myself, though, I'm still kind of holding hope that maybe it'll appear on consoles and PC at a later date. We have seen that happen with several Apple exclusives in the past, and I'm really crossing my fingers because I think this game's going to get so much more attention on console and PC. Again, though, that second part, which will be about 40 to 60 hours long, will release on August 13th. Now, we also need to talk about the PlayStation 5 for a minute because something really interesting popped up when it comes to those external M.2 NVMe solid-state drives. Of course, PlayStation did push out an update here recently that allows you to expand the storage of the PlayStation by inserting an M.2 NVMe solid-state drive. And interestingly enough, Digital Foundry did an analysis on this and found out that by inserting an external solid-state drive, you can actually increase not only the load times, but the performance of the console itself. And that is a little bit strange. Now, in terms of differing load times, that's not really all that surprising. Different speed solid-state drives will, of course, yield you different results when it comes to load times. And with the Samsung 980 Pro solid-state drive, in several tests that they showed, it does reduce the load times with this external solid-state drive. Again, though, I don't think that that's really too surprising, but the bigger surprise here was that in some situations, including with Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, it improved the frame rate. And that is a little bit strange. Now, this is nothing dramatic or anything like that. It would only increase the frame rate by a couple frames per second. As an example, with the internal solid-state drive, it might dip down to like 57 frames per second, while with the external, it would just run at a buttery smooth 60 frames per second. This isn't like a major difference or anything, but it is interesting to see that this external solid-state drive could actually improve the overall performance of the PS5. And the question now is, why exactly is this happening? And Digital Foundry did kind of guess that maybe this could be because the external solid-state drive isn't really dealing with all that background information as well. I mean, with the internal solid-state drive, it has to run things such as the operating system, which could theoretically maybe slow down the frame rate because it's just dealing with more things in the background. So maybe that could possibly be a reason on why there's different performances between the two. But again, like I said before, the performance gap here isn't really anything too major or anything like that. So far, we're only really seeing a minor difference with some of the games, but even then, this might be another good reason to go ahead and expand your storage on the PlayStation 5. With that said, I'm going to go and drop a link in the description below for the full Digital Foundry video about this particular subject. It is fascinating, and as always, Digital Foundry does a great job on this subject. Let's go ahead and talk about Xbox though, because they had a lot of different things to reveal today. Yes, they did have that Xbox Indie Showcase that was roughly 2 hours long. Might have been a little bit long, and I'd like to see them cut that down, but I think pretty much everything that they showed here was pretty interesting. We'll actually talk about some of those indie games here in just a moment, but they also revealed 14 new Xbox Game Pass games. Yeah, there's just absolutely no slowing down Xbox Game Pass as they just consistently bring game after game after game. And today they did reveal some games over to this Indie Showcase that will be coming to Xbox Game Pass, but also EA dropped some more games into EA Play, which of course is available to Xbox Game Pass Ultimate members. So let's just go and check it out. Thanks to that Codemasters acquisition, EA Play will now have F1 2020, F1 2019, Dirt Rally 2.0, Dirt Rally, Dirt 5, that's actually a pretty new title right there. Then you have Dirt 4 and Grid. All of these games will be available in EA Play today, which means that they will also be available in Xbox Game Pass Ultimate. Yeah, that EA Play Xbox Game Pass partnership is really paying off right now with more games heading into the service. Codemasters does a great job with their racing games, and if you do like racing games, then this is going to be a really nice update for you. That wasn't quite everything for Xbox Game Pass though, because we also have several independent games heading into Xbox Game Pass, including Origami 2, Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous, Paparazzi, Evil Genius 2, Stardew Valley, yep, Stardew Valley's coming, Library of Runa, and then The Artful Escape. Now, these will all be coming throughout the next year or so to Xbox Game Pass, but there's some really good-looking games here. Obviously, the big one here is probably going to be Stardew Valley. This game has just drawn in so many fans over the years. It's this farming simulator RPG style of game, and I mean, really, you could sink hundreds and hundreds of hours into this game. This game is incredibly addicting as you mingle with the different people within the town. It has this RPG element to it, and it's just always kind of a joy to play. Now, we don't know exactly when this will be coming to Xbox Game Pass, but the developer did say that maybe it will come this fall. So that's a big Xbox Game Pass title right away. And then there's Origami 2. Fans really seem to have liked the first game, so to see it get a sequel is really exciting on its own. I keep saying this, but I really don't think that we get enough of these stealth-based games anymore, and this could be a really good title to play. And the cool one about this is it's actually coming out next month into Xbox Game Pass. Yes, Origami 2 will be available on September 17th. Now, a couple of these other games I found to be really interesting as well. Pathfinder Wrath of the Righteous is kind of this old school RPG style of game, similar to something like maybe Pillars of Eternity. That's what it kind of reminded me of a bit here. And that one will be out March 1st of 2022. And then Library of Runa. This is a JRPG card style of game. I don't really know how to explain this one, but I thought the gameplay looked unique and interesting. I would at least give this one a try. And then The Artful Escape. The Artful Escape is coming from Annapurna, and this is just such a colorful platforming game about a musical prodigy. It definitely looks interesting to say the least, and I might have to give this one a try when it does head over to Xbox Game Pass. But yeah, if you didn't already have enough games to look forward to when it comes to Xbox Game Pass, well, I guess you got a couple more. Beyond Xbox Game Pass, though, they had quite a few other independent games here, several of which I thought looked really good. Now, there's actually 11 different games here, and I really did think that most of these looked really interesting. I'll kind of go over each one real brief, but you have Lightyear Frontier. Lightyear Frontier is an open-world farming exploration game with crafting, resource management. It's got base building, and I just love the overall color palette that they chose in this game. I think it looks really attractive, and you can see here that you can travel in these different mechs, and it does have a co-op aspect to it, it looks. So I think this is an interesting take on these different farming games. I mean, we just talked about it earlier, but we have Stardew Valley, and people seem to love that game, and you know what? Lightyear Frontier, I think so far it's looking really good. And next up, this is probably one of the more interesting games that I saw them announce because it's just such a unique and interesting concept, and that is Wandering Village. You can see here on Wandering Village that you actually kind of create a settlement on top of this giant creature that's just walking around. it very much reminds me of Xenoblade and how they live on colossal creatures. But instead of it being an RPG, you're kind of creating your own settlement here and just surviving the different elements that this unique environment would behold. So I'm actually really interested in the concept of this game, and I definitely want to see more on this one. Now, one of the biggest highlights, in my opinion, here was a game that's actually going to be releasing later this month, and that is Inked: A Tale of Love. Now, right away, this game has a striking art style. As you can see, the minimalistic, kind of almost a sketching-like art style. It visually looks really appealing, but they're taking that art style and they're actually mixing in some gameplay elements in with that as well, because you can kind of see the hand of God just come out of nowhere and just kind of kidnap your companion here. And that hand of God, you can see here as a pin, so you can definitely see that the artist has control of this world. So I thought that was kind of interesting, but it definitely seems like this is going to be an emotionally driven story game. I think that this game could end up being a standout hit when it does release later this month on August 27th. Definitely keep an eye out on that game. And actually, we do have a couple of other games here that will release this August, including The Big Con. This is a 90s style adventure game, and I grew up in the 90s, and I think this one kind of hit home with me right away. It looks like it's got a big personality. They went all out on the voice acting in this game, and I think if you like story-driven games, then A Big Con might be worth paying attention to. It will release on August 31st. You also have The Vale of Shadow of the Crown, which is a very unique game. This is actually an audio-only game that's designed for the blind community, but there will be some gameplay elements to this game, and they were kind of talking about how the combat worked, and you can listen to the sounds in front of you, and then you kind of choose how you attack and different things. It sounded pretty cool, and it will be out on August 19th. So, this August, there's a lot of these really good-looking independent games releasing here soon. And for that matter, there's a couple of games here that we did get release dates for, including Olli World, Sam & Max Save the World, as well as RPG Time. Now, I said just the other day, RPG Time is a game that I've been looking forward to for quite a while. I've been paying attention to this game since they first announced it, as I do think it looks like a very unique JRPG style of game. And, well, the good news here is that it will release this winter. We did get a little bit of a gameplay update here, and it looks just as good as we saw it the first time. And then you have Olli World, which is this skateboarding, platforming style of game. And they did show the different customization that you can have in this game, and it'll run at 120 frames per second and 4K resolution. Definitely good news there. And that also will arrive this winter. And as for Sam & Max Save the World, this is a good point-and-click adventure style of game, and that actually is available today. So you've got plenty of good-looking games to look forward to here. And well, like I said before, you actually have one that you can play today. So cool stuff there. Now, we still have 3 other games to go over here just real quick, including Lab Rat. This game very much looks inspired by Portal, and I don't mean that because the gameplay per se. This is a puzzle-driven game, but it's actually because this game is being explained as a satirical adventure starring a metrics-obsessed AI who will monitor, profile, and entertain you as you progress through over hundreds of satisfying and genre-bending puzzles. And yeah, if you've played the Portal franchise, that might sound very familiar. But you know what? I'm honestly okay with that. I love Portal, and a big part of that is because of its story element. And of course, GLaDOS is just awesome in that game. So if they can pull off a GLaDOS-like character in Lab Rat and then also have satisfying puzzles, yeah, I am all in on this game. Now, another game here that really stood out to me was Spaceline's From the Far Out. And the reason this game stood out to me is because it actually looks very similar to Overcooked. This is pretty much what I thought the entire time as they were showing off this game. But the entire point of this game is that you must build up your own spaceline. You have to keep the passengers happy and avoid all of these different scenarios that you kind of see in these chaotic cooperative-based games. And that right there is the key word here. This is a cooperative-driven experience. And in fact, the developer did say that this game was partially inspired by Overcooked. So that's probably why you're seeing a similar vibe here. But truthfully, I think we need more games like this on the market. I think Overcooked is one of the best cooperative experiences to date. And I liked when Moving Out came out. And you know what? I'm interested in Spacelines as well. Now, the last game that we're going to take a look at, and I know we've talked about a lot of different games, but we need to go ahead and talk about Aeon Drive, which will release fall of 2021. This is a fast-paced 2D platformer, and in fact, this game was pretty much built for speedrunners. Each level is short but challenging, and you have about 30 seconds to complete it. You do have a teleportation dagger that you can throw around and navigate the different spaces, and similar to Sonic, there's multiple paths that you can take. It even has cooperative gameplay. It's got a beautiful cyberpunk-esque art style to it, and really, this one just looks like a ton of fun. Again, it will release sometime this fall. There you have it though. That was everything revealed at the Xbox showcase, and even though I would have loved to talk about these games a lot more, kind of on a limited time frame, and I tried to compile this the best I possibly could. But yeah, there's a lot of really good looking games here to look forward to. Let me know in the comments below though on what game that they announced today are you most looking forward to. The Xbox Indie Showcase is not going to be the only big showcase for indie games this week though. Nintendo also announced their very own Indie Showcase that will take place tomorrow on August 11th. Yes, Indie World is back and it will take place at 9 a.m. Pacific Time or 12 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be roughly about 20 minutes long, which is about what you would expect from an event like this. I think that's plenty of time to showcase several big indie games. That is the question though, what game should we expect at this event? And they haven't really given any kind of information on that. Of course, we can kind of just go and throw our hopes out there, and I know right away, everybody's just going to be typing in the chat, where is Hollow Knight Silksong? It's been quite a while since we've got a big update for that game, and hey, maybe, just maybe, we might get an update for that game at this event. Of course, I said that with the last Nintendo Indie Direct, and I said it about the Nintendo Indie Direct before that, and the one before that, so, I mean, I'm not going to make any predictions this time. Yeah, I hope it's going to be there. I'm going to cross my fingers, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see. It really is hard to tell what we'll see here, though. We'll probably get plenty of surprises, as we always do with these indie directs, and I am all for that. I'll say it over and over again, but I really enjoy indie games. I think they feel perfect on the Nintendo Switch, and when it comes to indie games, you just get all these new and creative ideas. So yeah, I'm going to definitely look forward to that event tomorrow on August 11th at 12 p.m. Eastern Time. As always though, just like the Xbox Indie event today, I will keep you up to date on all of the Nintendo Indie Direct information tomorrow. Before I go though, let's just go and take a look at the poll of the day. Yesterday we did talk about that Xbox Gamescom stream that will be taking place on August 24th. They did already confirm that they will give some updates for some previously announced Xbox games at this event. Though I wanted to go ahead and ask you all, what announced Xbox game that has yet to show gameplay would you most like to get a gameplay update for? I mean, you know, Xbox has a lot of different first-party games announced, and I wish I could have included all of those in this poll here. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that, but out of the ones that I did post, 49% of you did vote for Fable. Yeah, the rebooted Fable beat out Hellblade 2, Perfect Dark, and Redfall. And really, I like to see the excitement for Fable here. Fable is a really big Xbox franchise. It's been around since the original Xbox. At that point in time, it was definitely considered one of the best RPGs available. And then over on the Xbox 360, you had Fable 2 and Fable 3, which was a big hit. Unfortunately, with the Xbox One, it did kind of miss that generation a bit with Fable Legends being canceled, but now it's back under Playground Games. Now, Playground Games does an excellent job with the Forza Horizon series, but now they have a completely different team working on this rebooted Fable game. I'm really interested to see what they do with this game. Based off the very small teaser that they've posted, it does look like this is going to continue that whimsical charm that the franchise is so well known for, but I'm also interested to see how they evolve the series. I mean, it's been a very long time since we've seen these Fable games. Now, I will say for me personally, the game that I'm most looking forward to seeing get an update would actually be Perfect Dark. I am a big Rare fan, but at the same time, yeah, I would be thrilled with a new Fable update as well. Avowed is another game that I'm really looking forward to. Hellblade 2, I loved the first Hellblade. So, I mean, there's just a lot of different Xbox announced games that I really want to see an update for. But like I said, yeah, I want to see how they've evolved the Fable franchise and how it's different than that Lionhead trilogy. Anyways, though, that's it for this episode, but if you liked the video, don't forget to bell notification and subscribe button for more content just like this. Also, if you'd like to support the channel through Patreon, thank you for making this content possible. Peace out.